may we discuss?
Good afternoon. Welcome to our internship debate. It's Global Debate, Free College. It's sponsored by the World Affairs Council of Austin, the World's Class Schools, World Affairs Interns, Global Scholars Diploma, and the World Affairs Council of Austin. What is the Global Scholars Diploma program? Global Scholars Diploma Program. The Global Scholars Diploma is a 3-year program that develops globally competent high school students by building the awareness and skills needed to take action on a global issue and to become responsible citizens of the world. The world is our classroom. Here you see one of our interns, Alea Trevino, interacting with a school from Afghanistan. Justice knows no boundary. Why should we? Again, Alea talking with the people from Afghanistan, and here we see a person being tried in Afghanistan, mock trials. We are a group of schools who work on international projects and do major projects. Here you see two of our interns, Vanessa Villarreal, our senior, and Emma Castro, a junior, and then Alea Trevino, a senior in the corner. We're using 21st century technology to bring the courtroom into the classroom. We also debate the major topics of today. Today's lesson is a free college debate. Free college debate. Our learning objective is the students of Del Valle and David Suzuki high schools will today debate and discuss the pros and cons of free college. The international debate will be on the pro side, David Suzuki High School from the Peel School Board in Toronto, Canada, and on the con side, Del Valle High School and Del Valle ISD outside of Austin, Texas. Our first point will be Vanessa Villarreal. Vanessa.
Our first point is it requires someone to pay because college won't be free and someone has to pay for it, and the pay will rack it up and cost much more. Second, college costs are at an all-time high. As the cost of living has increased, college costs increased 5 times more, and Bernie Sanders' plan will cost $47 billion a year, and it will do away with the 10th Amendment. Our third is it reduces programs elsewhere. It limits budgets and causes cutbacks in other areas, and much of the cost of school depends upon the person. And last but not least, it does not eliminate college costs. Debts are at an all-time high and more money will be spent, causing greater debt. And the question is not if we will have debt, the question becomes what type of debt we will have, public or private.
Thank you very much. Our second speaker will be Emma Castro. Emma, could you read?
Our first point is that free college decreases completion rates. Our second point is it will reduce state programs in other areas. And our third point is it will reduce the system that is in place already. Our fourth point encourages financial irresponsibility. Our fifth point is the devalue of the worth of a diploma. And our sixth point is that it raises college enrollment and increasing cost.
Thank you. And our third speaker will be Valeria Doherty.
Our first point is poor pay for the rich to go to the school. Our second point is an increase in room, board, books, and fees will offset savings elsewhere. Point 3 is that money has to come from somewhere. Point 4 is college will stop being important. Point 5, college campuses will not fit the increase in enrollment. And point 6 is this is the wrong time and place for this.
Thank you very much. In a moment, we'll begin our debate with
In today's debate, we will talk about societal values. In this round, we will value what was best for the individual and for the community. In the current status quo, one pays for one's own college debt. Under free college, you pay for the college costs of all people all your life. This lowers societal values in 5 different ways. First, tuition-free college will decrease completion rates, leaving students without the benefits of a full college education and degree. Jack A. Chambliss of economics professor at Valencia College, stated that a free college program, potentially millions of people will have no business attending college, would waste their time and taxpayers' dollars seeking degrees that they will not obtain. That free college would dupe young people into a sense of belonging, only to find that their work ethic, intelligence, and aptitude are not up to the rigors of advanced education. An example of this would be the results under California's community college fee waiver program. Over 50% of the state's community college students attended for free before the 2017 program change, but only 6% of all California community college students completed a career technical program, and fewer than 10% completed a 2-year degree in 6 years. This is further corroborated by Vince Norton, managing partner at Norris Norton, a campus marketing company, in saying that students who enroll at free college will borrow money for the cost of attendance, then they will drop out and have a student loan, but no skills. Moving forward to my second point, it will reduce state programs in other essential areas. In the United States, the costs of public education are often fronted at a state level. By making college free, each state would be forced to come to grips with how they would afford this option. With budgets already strained in many areas, the likely result of free college will be a reduction or termination of other core safety net programs that support low-income families. This means that free college on a federal level would fly in the face of the 10th Amendment, which said that states were in charge of their education and their college. This would devalue the U.S. Constitution as well as the Bill of Rights. Moreover, my third point is that it would reduce the efficiencies found in the public system already. When college is free, there is less of an incentive to find ways to save money in the system. Institutions would know that they would receive funding no matter what. This might result in the wasteful spending habits, especially since free colleges would no longer need to compete with other private institutions for enrollment. That process would put yet another strain on the budgets. Fourth, it might encourage financial irresponsibility. One of the most important lessons learned in college is how to manage your personal finances, and a lesson which some students are forced to learn the hard way. Having a student loan may be the first major financial transaction somebody has. Being able to pay it off without missing payments makes it easier to establish a good credit score and make future purchases. If college was free, the financial lessons would disappear and there would be fewer opportunities to establish a strong credit profile. Fifth, more in college would devalue the worth of a diploma. In the United States, students' loans have already devalued the worth of a 4-year degree. To earn an upper middle class income, many students are finding that a graduate degree is becoming necessary. Free college could devalue degrees in other ways as well, from students deciding to cut classes because they have no personal investment to be less involved in their studies. There is a strong possibility that free college would encourage more recklessness in college learning, not less. 6, it would cause more people to go to college. When more people are infused into a system that is not used to accommodating them, bad things happen as a result. We already experienced this issue when changes to the healthcare system in the United States were implemented in 2010. With more patients qualifying for covered care, wait times at medical clinics were from 1 week to 6 months almost overnight. That lowered the quality of care available and made accessibility more difficult. If college were to be free, this issue would likely occur within the education realm as well. All of this would do more and cost more and more money and limits benefits for college education. People would take it for granted and they'd take advantage of the system instead of trying to get ahead. We offered 6 reasons to prefer no free college. They were: it would cause more people to go to college, raising costs and lowering the value of the degree. 2, it would discourage saving for college, savings inside of college, and cutting costs of other things in college. Reduce local and individual control over states and over the universities. It would heavily impact state budgets. They would be called on to fund colleges. Tuition-free colleges would decrease completion rates, leaving students without the benefits of free college education and a degree, and it would tear up the Constitution by eliminating the 10th Amendment and allowing the federal takeover of education, which has been from 1791 guaranteed to be run by the state government. We cannot in clear conscience support this proposal, so we have to say no to free college. Thank you.
Your Honor, may it please the court, I would like to address some academic issues. In the United States, as much as in the rest of the world, the college students receive 3 kinds of public benefits: tuition subsidies, living grants, and public loans. Through various combinations of this benefit trifecta, almost all students are able to finance their college education. Some on the left are very unhappy with the precise mix of student benefits currently on offer. Student debt activists, among others, complain that the tuition subsidies and living grants make up too little of the student benefit bundle, while public loans make up too much of it. The current answer to this problem is free college. If we make everything free, there's the solution. There simply would be no debt. Well, not exactly. In fact, I'll show that it will become quite the opposite. To elaborate more on this, I would like to offer these 5 points. 1. Discrimination. Free college education may sometimes lead to discrimination among the students who do not come from a well-to-do family. By giving money for college, we'll be giving more money to the rich who do not need it to go to college and take away from those who do. The main problem with free college is that most students come from disproportionately well-off backgrounds and already enjoy disproportionately well-off futures, which makes them relatively uncompelling targets for public transfers. At age 19, only around 20% of children from the poorest 2% of families in the country attend college. For the richest 2% of families, the same number is around 90%. In between these two extremes, college attendance rates climb practically straight up the income ladder. The richer your parents are, the greater the likelihood that you are in college at age 19. The relatively few poor kids who do attend college heavily cluster in 2-year community college and cheaper, less selective 4-year colleges, while richer kids are likely to attend more expensive 4-year institutions. At public colleges, the type we'd likely make free, students are from the poorest fourth of the population currently pay no net tuition at either 2-year or 4-year institutions, while also receiving an average of $3,080 and $2,320 respectively to offset some of their annual living expenses. Richer students currently receive much fewer tuition and living grant benefits. Given these class-based differences in attendance levels, institutional selection, and current student benefit levels, making college free for everyone would most certainly mean giving far more money to students from richer families than from poorer ones. Of course, providing more generous student benefits might alter these class-based skews a bit by encouraging more poor and middle-class people to go to college or to attend more expensive institutions. But even reasonably accounting for these kinds of responses, the primary result of such increased student benefit generosity would be to fill the pockets of richer students and their families. 2, it may not be free. Free college education may not necessarily be free, as other hidden charges are sometimes brought up in between the coursework. Needless to say, such thinking is extremely damaging to broader egalitarian project, even more so in some ways than its goal of setting aside a part of national income for the inegalitarian aim of making college free. If we are actually going to push a free college agenda, it should not be under a restrictive students' rights banner, but instead under a general pro-welfare banner. The goal of free college should not be to help students per se, but instead to bind them to a broader welfare benefit system. By presenting their tuition subsidies and living grants as an indistinguishable from benefits for the disabled, poor, the elderly, and so on, it may be possible to encourage wealthier students to support the welfare state and to undermine students' future claims of entitlement to the high incomes that colleges graduates so often receive. After all, the college income premium would only be possible through the welfare benefits to which the rest of society, including those who never went to college, has contributed. Without understanding and presenting student benefits as welfare handouts, a free college agenda has no real egalitarian purpose. Giving extra money to a class of disproportionately well-off people without securing any reciprocal benefit to poor and working class people who so often do not attend college, all while valorizing the college student as a virtuous person individually deserving of such benefits, would be at worst destructive and at best totally pointless. In the end, the poor would pay for the rich to go to school, and the poor would remain poor, and the rich would get richer. A great system to maintain the status quo in power, not a great system to educate our students. 3, the money has to come from somewhere. Free college education is free to the students and parents. However, the money comes from a different source, such as the government and donors. Free education must be paid for so on the backs of the poor and underclasses of society. The rich will finance this with a universal tax. Now, poor people do not have either college debt nor large college loans because they do not go to school. In the future, they would be for the rich to go to school all their working life. That is 100% of the people that is 100% of the people would pay for that tax for 100% of working careers. Today, this is not the case. You pay for what you borrow or use yourself. What is fair about having the poor pay for the rich? Our opponents will have to embrace it, and in the end, try to justify how loss of freedom, increased taxes, low wages, and limited opportunities is a good thing. It is not. Technically, free college isn't really free. Someone does have to pay for it. In the case of public college, that means taxpayers, but some economists believe that every American who wants to go could go to college for free if the federal and state governments made a few reasonable changes. They don't see the concept as fantasy. They see it as a very realistic option. Some of the ideas that they've put forward include closing corporate tax loopholes that allow companies to legally avoid paying their full share of taxes. The problem is corporations do not pay taxes. People do, and when you consume or use a product for service, you're paying the person's or corporation's tax on the product or service. Wake up, by closing loopholes, you are raising taxes on you and your neighbors. increasing the tax rates for America's wealthiest millionaires and billionaires. This means less money to invest, which will mean less jobs, job growth, and investments. By advocating this, you are hurting the common man trying to make a living. Implementing new taxes on speculative Wall Street transactions. The purpose of business is to make money. By taxing the people who make money this way, you are decreasing income and placing worse things on the public like recession or depression plus out of control inflation. Diverting most of the public money currently spent on student financial aid toward making all public colleges and universities tuition-free instead, subsidizing the rich at the expense of the poor. Decreasing the military budget. Since the U.S. has been, for the past 60 years, the policeman of the world, decreasing the U.S. military makes sense, but no sense. You could save money, but the best way to ensure that we do not have a war is to have a very strong military. The best way to encourage one is to cut back on military and look very weak. And cracking down on wasteful government spending. This has never happened. Government growth is a reality and something many leaders have a vested interest in. 4, college may stop being important. For children going to college, free college means that it will become a normal thing to them such that they may see no need to go to college after all. Under the free choice system of college, a person can choose when, where, why, how about their own personal education past high school. Under free college, this would not be the case. Poor students will still go to college. However, with increased enrollments and increased amounts of students who are going to go to college, great demands will be placed on teachers in the colleges. Ill-prepared students from poor high schools would be able to go to school, but would they be able to stay in? Could they withstand the rigors of staying in college? Eventually, they would be forced by financial or academic reasons to drop out, and then they would pay for everyone's college for the rest of their working careers. Is this fair? Is this right? Is this good? 5, facilities in college would be strained. Free college education opens doors to all and sundry, which ends up putting a strain on the already limited resources in the schools. It may affect private institutions. Private institutions that depend on school fees to thrive may be adversely affected by free college education because they will no longer be profitable. It reduces the quality of education. Free college education ends up reducing the quality of education in college since everyone can access it without the need to be part with anything. Here you can clearly see that the system would be strained. The only thing that would even be close to this would be the post-World War II war GI Bill students. Suddenly there were many extra students. Colleges were not prepared to handle all these extra people at once. The thing that suffered was the quality of education given to each individual student. I give you 5 reasons to support the con side of the debate. My comments were about the academic side of college and what free college would do and cost to our society and to us individually. Do we want to have the rich and powerful control more people? Do we want to control people by coming up with a scheme to have the poor people pay for the rich? Are we just going to sit there and take? Are we? No. This is wrong. I want what is best for America and best for myself. I cannot speak for others, but neither can my opponents. I'm telling you loudly and clearly, unless we stand up against this today, our opponents will get this passed. And are you willing to be fooled into thinking that this program is a good deal? Ask the question, a good deal for whom? It is the answer for the people in power. Now you have the power to stop this now and forever. Please do so and vote con. Thank you.
It's recording. With federal loans accounting to much of 1.6 trillion in outstanding student loans debt and more than 1 million people defaulting on their loans each year, taxpayers are already picking up much of the tab for this broken system. Free college tuition would only make things worse, creating an inflationary spiral as more taxpayer dollars were funneled to schools with even less discretion than existing today. Schools will keep rising costs. So what's the real solution to student debt? Rather than throw more money into the problem, the surest way to stop the sharp rise in both college tuition and student debt would be to get the federal government out of the student loan business. That would cut off the open spigot of money and allow colleges to increase the cost virtually without limit. We offer 4 excellent reasons why free college is not free and will actually cost you more money. First, it requires someone to pay for it. College tuition isn't going to be free. Someone will be asked to pay for the expenses. It requires a shift from the individual to the society as to who will be responsible. Second, taxpayers will spend billions of subsidized tuition while other colleges' costs will remain high. The estimate cost of Bernie Sanders' free college program is $47 billion per year and has states paying 33% of those costs, or which is equivalent to $15.5 billion. According to David Feldman and Richard Archibald, both professors with a PhD of economics at William and Mary College, this will require taxpayers, or it will force states to move existing resources into higher education and away from other state priorities such as healthcare, prisons, roads, and K-12 educations. According to a 2016 campaign for free college reports, states could lose between $77 million and $5 billion in tuition revenue from their state colleges and universities, and they would also have to pay an additional $15,000 to $55 million to subsidize a tuition-free plan. Neil McCluskey, director of the Cato Institute Center for Educational Freedom, calculated that free college funding by tax dollars would cost every adult payer $1,360 a year, or $77,500 over a lifetime. Why should people who want to go to college get paid for it? In part by people who pursue on-the-job training and other forms of non-college educations. He wrote in the Wall Street Journal, adding, "Indeed, why should anyone get a degree to increase their lifetime earnings on the backs of taxpayers?" College costs have increased over a number of reasons unrelated to tuition, including fancy dorms, amenities like lazy rivers and climbing walls, student services such as healthcare, athletes, increase the administrative personnel, and cuts in states' funding. Third, it might reduce the state's program in other essential areas. In the United States, the costs of public education are often fronted in the state's level. By making college free, each state would have to force to come to grips on how they would afford this option. With budgets already strained in many years, the likely result of free college would be reduction or termination of other core safety net programs which support low-income families. Fourth, it wouldn't eliminate the cost of attending college. With the discussion of the pros and cons making college free, the debate involves the tuition costs which students would be asked to pay. It does not involve the cost of living, the cost of books, and other expenses which come with college. Some students would be able to find a job to cover these expenses, others would not. This means that the student loan economy would certainly shrink. It would not disappear. Tuition is only one expense of college students will have to pay and accounts for 39.5% of the total average college cost. On average, in-state tuition at a public college will cost $10,230 for each year. Fees, rooms, and board for on-campus housing are another $11,140. Books and supplies are another $1,240. Transportation adds $1,160. The other expenses cost another $2,120. Without tuition, college will still cost an average of $15,660 per year. In conclusion, free college will make it worse for everyone. It requires someone to pay it. Taxpayers will spend billions more than they already do. It will reduce state programs in other areas. It would not eliminate the cost of attending college. Thank you.
Give us your reflection on today's debate.
Today's debate was really informative on both our side and their side, in that they were able to reevaluate some of their arguments that America does have different value system and different things already going on that would not help the free college debate, like legacy admissions, and us realizing that the chance is something that they're arguing for, though the chance is not enough in some cases.
Emma, before we started this unit on freedom college, you were saying that you thought free college was a pretty good deal. Do you still hold that idea, or has it changed slightly?
It's altered in the such that free college is not the answer. I think reduced tuition and more state legislature instead of federal legislature. Because if this federal government is telling the states how to regulate their education, then it goes against our constitution, and the reduced tuition would be easier for the state to handle.
Now, in the course of today's debate, there was a mention of the fact of the 10th Amendment. Could you explain to people exactly what the 10th Amendment and how it applies here?
Right. So the 10th Amendment basically says that if our Constitution does not grant the federal government the specific power to do so, the state government is who you go to for that issue. Education is not specifically noted in our Constitution, so the Bill of Rights says that you have to let the state regulate their education in each state. So if you regulate it on a federal base, you would be violating it.
Okay, and then eventually you're afraid of what will happen to our Constitution as a whole.
Yes.
Okay, are you saying that eventually you think other parts of our Constitution would dissipate as well as that, if we allow this to happen?
It would be a bad precedent to set.
Okay, so overall, what were your final thoughts that you could say about today's debate?
It was very informative, and doing it led me to reevaluate some held beliefs.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, let's go to Vanessa. Vanessa, could you come up here? Now, Vanessa, second. Now, Vanessa, could you please give your reflections over what happened in today's debate on free college?
Like what exactly happened? We argued that there's really bad effects to free college, and then they argued that it would make society better, and they didn't really focus on the money aspect of it, but we did because it is going to cost money. And yeah, I think our arguments were more technical.
Vanessa, you were arguing a point that it's going to cost more money. Now, how could something free cost money?
Because it's not going to be free, because someone else is going to have to pay for it eventually. Like, you can't just make things free.
Okay, now, you know people that actually come from countries that have been behind communism and stuff, where they offer a lot of free things. What happens when everyone has a free degree and everyone has a diploma? What ends up happening to that society necessarily?
Well, first, to even go to college, it's horrible because they don't have any housing. Since it's free for everyone, the housing is horrible. And because my cousins are studying to be doctors, and they had to stay, and there was like no housing, so they had to go back to their house. There's no transportation, so it's just really bad. And then once they do get their degree, they can't find jobs because everyone can get the degree, and it's not like it makes it easier for everyone, and it devalues the degree, and then there's no jobs also.
Okay, so you think that's a main argument, that you think that's a good argument against free college?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. Any final thoughts you have about this? Did your thoughts change at all?
Yeah, I used to be like free college, but then like Emma said, I think it should just be reduced tuition, because not everyone deserves free college, and also why should people pay for your college? If you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Very good. Valeria, could you come up and? Okay, now Valeria, tell us a little bit about today's debate. What were your reflections on what happened?
We argued the con side of the debate. We argued that free college would affect us in a bad way, and they argued that free college would affect society in a good way. They were the pro side. Okay,
now, before the debate, what side were you on?
I think, I don't really know. I was still kind of on the fence before the debate. But
okay, and then what side are you on after the debate?
I agree with Emma and Vanessa that we should have reduced tuition.
Okay, and do you think it's explained that way to the general public, or do you think the general public thinks the idea that free college really means it's free and it'll be really good?
I think the message to the public is that free college is 100% free, but it's not. There's going to be charges between like the paperwork and stuff like that, and then we're going to get taxed for it as well.
Okay, and why is it important for young people like yourself to tackle problems like this with international schools?
It's important because we get a chance to understand how other countries think about the certain situation, and it allows us to think for ourselves about this certain type of.
And speaking about that, were you amazed when they said that their college tuition was about like half?
Yeah, everybody was like, "What? That's only it."
And that wasn't even including the difference in price. So it was half of the Canadian dollar, and the Canadian dollar is $0.75. So it would be a savings of roughly about 60 to 70% over the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, I thought that was amazing. So any final thoughts you have over this?
I just thought it was really interesting. I've never done a debate like this before internationally.
So you're glad you did it then? Huh?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Aaliyah? Okay, Aaliyah, tell us a little bit about today's debate.
I thought today's debate was really interesting because it changed my mind about free college overall, and I became more pro-reduced college than free college.
Okay, now tell us the difference between free college and reduced price college.
Well, free college means that the tuition, you wouldn't have to pay any tuition, and reduced college is just the overall tuition and the overall pay for housing and all that would decrease.
Okay. And any final thoughts you have about this?
I had a lot of fun, and I hope that we have more arguments or debates with each other because it was really interesting and educational.
Okay, thank you very much.
So one of the points that we had said for college is that it should not be free, but it should be reduced because the prices for college have skyrocketed in the last couple of years to the point where most students are in debt. So the price should be reduced, not free, since you will have to be paying off other people's debt, and it doesn't sound fair, honestly. One of the things that we had brought up is that it would just end up helping the rich. Another thing was that free college would be expensive for taxes, for tax purposes. And another thing would be that it could flood the market and lead to credential creep. And our fourth point was that it offers no way to control what people study.
Now, Alondra, could you explain a little bit more about the credential creep? What's wrong with everybody having a diploma?
Some critics of the free college idea argue that it would lead to a flood of graduates with mediocre credentials, all completing for a limited number of jobs. Then these critics argue committed workers would have to pursue some kind of graduate degree to stand out from the crowd. This would cost money as well as leading the credential creep.
Okay, so Alondra, you're saying that, okay, right now you need a bachelor's degree. So in the next year, you need a master's and maybe a PhD. As it requires more and more college, how is that bad?
Well, with everyone having access to the same thing, then you would have to need other things to actually stand out from the crowd.
Okay, and then it would be bad in respect for debt because our debt would grow immensely, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
if everyone can just go and get a PhD, we're going to have to pay off an immense amount of loans for them.
Okay, and what was your last point again, you were saying?
It offers no way to control what people study.
Okay, now let's say, for example, that you are offered free your choice of study.
I'll take it.
Now, does that necessarily mean that that would result in a job?
No.
Okay, so what would be some things that people would like to study but may not have any practicality in society? What would be an example, you think? Back in my day, there were people taking basket weaving classes, okay? Now, basket weavings are really nice and special deal, and you probably could make money somewhere doing it, but if you took your 4 years and you're a basket weaver, is that the type of thing that you're trying to stop? You think just majors that wouldn't make much sense to people?
Yes, because we'd have to end up paying those loans.
Okay. And why and how, as a young person like yourself, why are loan debt so great if we put it not from the person but to society? What are you looking at?
Well, looking at how immense the loans are right now, anywhere from $30,000 to $75,000 a year for a college in the U.S., it would be a lot of money for it, and that's why we're trying to avoid this option.
And do you foresee that that's for an individual right now?
For an individual.
And it's your choice. You don't have to go. But if you made people go and it went to $75,000 or $100,000 each, what would happen to the amount of debt that everyone would owe then?
Everyone would just have to pay an immense amount of money.
And as a young person like yourself, and maybe working another 60 years in the workforce, you anticipate that you'd like to spend some of that money yourself and not the government to take your whole check, correct?
Correct.
Thank you so much today.